SmackDown Women's Division just got a big shakeup, so we'll see what's new there. We'll also check out the big situation with the Gingerbread Man and more. Starting things off with Jacy Jayne and Fatal Influence's strong start to their main roster run. Fatal Influence arrived on SmackDown as part of the call-ups coming out of WrestleMania 42, and so far they've been presented very well and seem like a valid threat to the SmackDown Women's Division. They're really proving themselves. Within her first few weeks on the main roster, Jacy Jayne has worked with Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, all three future Hall of Famers right there, and multiple-time world champions. And not only has Jacy worked with them over the last few weeks, but Jacy Jayne scored pinfall victories over Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss in back-to-back consecutive weeks as well. So even that itself is a massive accomplishment and shows instant impact for Jacy Jayne and gives her a lot of instant credibility as well. She comes right over to SmackDown and already has successfully pinned Charlotte and Alexa within her first month on the main roster. A very telling sign of a positive future for Jacy Jayne on the main roster. She's not getting lost in the shuffle. She's off to an extremely hot start right now on the main roster. If Fatal Influence stays this red hot on the main roster, it definitely seems like a possibility that all three women of the group could at one point be covered in gold. With all these big pinfall victories, it's no secret that Jacy Jayne will be the one breaking into singles competition and trying to make a run at that women's title that's currently being held by Rhea Ripley. If Jacy keeps this momentum going, she'll undoubtedly find herself in the world title picture in no time, leaving Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed to go after the women's tag team titles. And if all three women handle their business, there does seem like a chance that this group could be holding the women's title and the tag team titles all at the same time. Definitely seems like a possibility right there if the entire group keeps this hot start going. We can definitely expect to see them doing major things like that if they remain this impactful on the SmackDown brand. A big future feud was even very lightly hinted at for Fatal Influence during a recent edition of SmackDown. Jade Cargill and her faction recently made their return on the May 8th edition of SmackDown. That was their first appearance since WrestleMania 42. So after some weeks away, Jade Cargill and her group have officially re-emerged. Jade and her group instantly went after Rhea Ripley, as well as Alexa and Charlotte. And during that beatdown, there was a little moment there of Jade Cargill sneaking up behind Jacy and Fatal Influence, but there was no conflict there. Jacy and her group showed mutual respect for Jade and her group, and they got out of their way and gave them full access to the ring. So definitely a big teaser there to see something between Jacy and Jade's groups a little more down the line. As of this very moment, the two factions don't appear to have any real beef with each other. They were both after the same targets on the May 8th edition of SmackDown, so they stayed out of each other's way and didn't lay any hands on each other. But you gotta assume at one point here in the near future, these two groups are gonna clash, especially since Jade's group mirrors Fatal Influence and has the same goals that they have. You gotta assume that Jade wants to regain the women's title for herself and try getting her faction members the tag team titles as well. Exact similar goals to Jacy and Fatal Influence, so at one point those two groups will certainly collide because they will eventually get in each other's way of reaching their ultimate goals. The SmackDown Women's Division is loaded up in the faction department right now. You got Jade Cargill and her group, Jacy Jayne and her group, and now this temporary alliance amongst Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa. So the SmackDown Women's Division is kind of broken up right now into these three women factions that we're seeing pop up. The faction with the least amount of team chemistry is most definitely Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa. Remember that the whole entire original gimmick for Charlotte and Alexa was that they were teammates that weren't actually the perfect fit with each other. And now they're adding Rhea Ripley to that team, and everyone knows that Rhea and Charlotte have a very complicated past. So Rhea and Charlotte are definitely bumping heads right now because of their past issues and old rivalries. And it doesn't seem like Rhea will split from Alexa and Charlotte, because they both need each other right now if they want to survive against all these factions on SmackDown. Rhea Ripley doesn't stand a chance on her own against Jacy or Jade's group, and likewise for Alexa and Charlotte as well, since they'll be outnumbered by any of those factions. So it may be a situation where they don't have much of a choice. Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa will have to stay together if they want to survive and make it past all these SmackDown female factions. That's what makes it seem like, despite their issues with each other, Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa will have to stay together and continue that alliance in the midst of everything happening with Jacy and Jade. So it seems like we can definitely expect to see a whole lot more 6-woman tag matches in the upcoming future, because there's now a lot of unsettled business there amongst these 3 different groups. And it seems like Rhea's next few challengers could also be women that are all involved in the faction battle right now. Maybe Rhea can end up defending against Jade Cargill again, or maybe Jacy Jayne, or maybe even Charlotte Flair. It surely seems like the next few challengers for Rhea could come out of this battle, so definitely some intriguing choices there to be the next few contenders for Rhea Ripley. The Gingerbread Man character has shockingly become one of the most controversial things going on right now in pro wrestling. What started out as a nickname that Trick Williams gave to Sami Zayn quickly morphed into an actual character itself. The Gingerbread Man came out on SmackDown with Trick Williams for a few weeks there and stuck around from there on. The Gingerbread Man even appeared at Trick's title celebration, but the twist there was that it was Sami under the costume. So Sami proceeded to destroy the costume, and the company decided to portray the story as the Gingerbread Man passing away at the hands of Sami Zayn. They even dove fully into this storyline and promoted a funeral segment for the Gingerbread Man a whole week in advance that received mixed reactions from fans. And when you get to the May 8th edition of SmackDown, this was an edition of SmackDown that was based fully around the Gingerbread funeral. There were multiple backstage segments involving the open casket viewing of the Gingerbread Man, and of course the funeral even had the main event segment of SmackDown as well. That segment involved the Gingerbread Man rising back up to save Trick Williams. The main event segment faced a lot of criticism from the fans. One side of fans that did enjoy the silliness and chaos, while the other side of fans were left wondering how this got greenlit to close out the go-home Backlash edition of SmackDown. It was also reported this week that there was even some internal pushback regarding everything with the Gingerbread Man narrative. It seems like even some officials felt like things were getting a bit too crazy with the Gingerbread Man story and tried pushing back against it. But that internal pushback did not stop that funeral segment from happening. It's also being teased that this was not the end of the Gingerbread Man story. After baiting Sami Zayn into that trap, Trick Williams was seen throwing out the Gingerbread Man costume into the garbage. But just a few seconds later, it was Danhausen who picked up the costume from the trash and walked away with it. So with Danhausen now being in possession of the costume, who knows what it would be used for next, but definitely seems like there's a chance that we will see more from that costume. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.